Tonight on Tower Talks, professors are pushing back against a Senate proposal to curtail faculty involvement in university curriculum and hiring decisions, transferring power to higher governing boards. More on the impact for Longhorn students and faculty. Following the Texas A&M University system, all schools in the University of Texas system are now banned from sponsoring or hosting drag shows. A look at the legality of the ban and what it means for students. President Trump plans to sign an executive order Thursday that was signed actually last Thursday, dismantling the Department of Education. A look at how changes in education at the federal level may impact UT. All of this coming up on Tower Talks. Good evening and welcome to Tower Talks, the show where we take a closer look at the stories affecting Texans, Austinites, and students right here at UT Austin. I'm your host, Justin Doud, and tonight we are breaking down Senate Bill 37, a drag ban imposed by the University of Texas system, and a host of other bills filed by the Texas Legislature in recent weeks. But before we get into that, we have a brief update on former President Jay Hartzell. In an interview hosted by the LBJ School earlier this afternoon, Hartzell reflected on his time leading the university. He asked the audience and university at large to separate him as a person from him as a university official, and expressed regret for some events during his tenure, saying that as president he could have done a better job communicating to faculty during the protests last April, wherein over 100 were arrested on campus. Hartzell also emphasized his dedication to improving the university's standing in regard to how it is perceived as a free speech protecting university. For more on Hartzell's remarks, including his thoughts on mask mandates, DEI at the university, and more, head to TSTVnews.com for the full story later this week. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at proposed higher education legislation in the Texas Senate. Later tonight, we'll dig into potential changes coming on campus. Towers, we'll be right back.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore, seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Senate Bill 37, which heavily affects higher education, heard public testimony last week in the Senate K-16 Education Committee. The bill greatly expands the power of public university governing boards, which for UT is the Board of Regents. The Senate version of the bill was proposed by State Senator Brandon Creighton, who represents communities north of Houston around Conroe. Creighton pointed to the growing scrutiny on and responsibilities of the governing boards that the bill would empower. Currently, university governing boards play a key role in reviewing a university's president or appointment of a president. SB 37 would expand that authority to require the boards to approve candidates for vice president, provost, associate, or assistant provosts, and deans, as well as all non-STEM tenure positions. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. The board would also have the ability to overturn nearly any decision made by any entity or individual under its authority. Reports on the board's decisions would need to be provided to the governor of Texas annually. The bill also gives governing boards discretion over the establishment of a faculty council or senate. If established, each school or college would be limited to 2 tenured representatives, one of which is appointed by the president. UT's schools vary greatly in size. For example, the School of Architecture has around 90 full-time faculty, while the College of Natural Science has over 700. Any established council's 3 leadership positions, tasked with communicating with university leadership, would be appointed by the president as well. All council positions would be limited to 1-year terms that can only be held once every 4 years. Councils are solely advisory with no compelling authority. The bill would also establish the Office of Excellence in Higher Education, an intermediary and authority between the public, the legislature, and higher education institutions. The office's director would be appointed directly by the governor. Opponents of the bill raised concerns over its potential impact on the autonomy of educators and education more broadly. At least 5 UT professors testified against the bill during the hearing, most of whom are members of the American Association of University Professors and have experience in UT's faculty council in the past. Here's some of their testimony.
In a later section, the bill lists a performance goal of making efforts to ensure a variety of perspectives are represented among administration and faculty. Apparently, we agree that diversity is a good thing, despite what happened in 2023. However, the chilling effect and the threat of retribution implied in the section I discussed before will ensure that the university will only be safe for one kind of perspective, the one that the ruling party endorses.
Supporters of the bill say that it would provide a degree of review needed in higher education. The bill still sits in committee and has not yet received a vote, while its companion bill in the House has not yet been assigned to a committee. TSTV News will continue to monitor the progression of SB 37 and campus reactions to the bill. Head to tstvnews.com for continued coverage throughout the week. A classified material scandal has sent shockwaves through Washington and the country today after some of the highest-ranking officials in the U.S. government unknowingly included a journalist in a group chat discussing classified war plans against the Houthi militia in Yemen. The officials in the chat, members of the Trump administration, included Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. The conversation was held on Signal, an unsecure public communication channel, and the journalist unwittingly included in the exchange was Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine. According to Goldberg, he followed the conversation for 2 days before the attack in Yemen, including detailed plans concerning weapons, strike operations, step-by-step procedures, and extensive target information. The dialogue also included rhetoric around and ridicule of Europe and U.S. relations, as well as Vance's belief that the timing of the operation was a mistake. The breach in security protocols has drawn condemnation from across sectors of the government, including from the highest-ranking members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, from former Biden administration officials, and from current Defense Department officials, some of which, according to the New York Times, claimed that Hegseth's actions themselves may have violated portions of the Espionage Act. Members of the Trump administration at first indicated that Goldberg's assertions appeared true, but Hegseth denied the allegations on a tarmac when asked by journalists in Hawaii, instead choosing to launch personal attacks against Goldberg. Trump, when asked, said he had no knowledge of the scandal, and House Speaker Mike Johnson said it didn't seem to require additional attention. Meanwhile, Democrats have called for immediate and harsh consequences against those involved and have pointed to Republican condemnation of Hillary Clinton's use of a public email server in 2016. Vance at the time said that Clinton should be imprisoned for the action. When we come back, we'll hear about actions UT and Texas A&M are taking to ban drag shows on campus, including new developments on A&M's ban out this morning. Stay with us.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
University of Texas System Board of Regents Chairman Kevin L. Teef announced last Tuesday that, quote, "Our public university facilities, supported by taxpayers, will not serve as venues for drag shows. Our institutions will not sponsor them," end quote. The ban came at the urging of Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare and followed the implementation of a similar ban at Texas A&M earlier this month. A UT System spokesperson said that the system's vice chancellor and general counsel advised all of the system's institutional chief legal officers of the change and noted that each institution should enforce the policy switch through event review and approval. UT's variation on the ban is notably similar to Texas A&M's, which is currently being sued by the university's Queer Empowerment Council. The council oversees Draggyland, an annual drag show held on campus by independent student groups and organizers. The show fell under the ban and was prohibited from continuing until this morning, when a federal judge at the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas issued an injunction against the ban, siding with the council in her ruling that the ban violated students' First Amendment rights. Now, the show is back on, assuming that no emergency appeal is filed to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals by A&M. Tickets are back on sale, and the show is scheduled for Thursday. While A&M's show is back on, the ruling doesn't affect UT's policy change. Still, questions have been raised over what the implications of Judge Rosenthal's injunction are on UT's policy. I spoke with Adam Steinbaugh, the attorney with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, who represented the Queer Empowerment Council, about those implications and about both bans. Here's some of our conversation.
We took this case because what Texas A&M was doing here was saying, we think this planned performance is offensive, and because it's offensive, we have a right to cancel it. And that just turns the First Amendment on its head. The entire point is that officials don't get to say this is offensive or that's offensive, because those are lines for individual people to draw. It's not for state officials. If you think that a drag show is offensive, it's super easy to avoid a drag show. Don't buy a ticket. The entire point of the First Amendment is that because officials can't objectively determine what's offensive and what's not, we just allow speech and we don't limit it because it's offensive.
FIRE succeeded in its attempt to get an injunction. What implications do you think that has for UT's ban?
if I'm UT and I am implementing a similar ban, I think having a federal court already looking at it and considering both sides of it and saying, very clearly the First Amendment law is this, I think that should cause folks at UT to reconsider. This Draggieland's been on campus for 5 or 6 years now, but all of a sudden they need to issue a urgent prohibition on drag. What they're doing is they're trying to make a political point. Freedom of speech in the abstract is always popular among politicians and the public. Nobody's against freedom of speech, but everyone is also, censorship is also very popular. There's a reason that we protect unpopular speech, and that's because it's easy for politicians and officials to earn public support by saying, I'm suppressing the speech that none of you like. And that's why we protect speech.
Steinboss said that the case's next steps largely rely on A&M and their goals, but for now, the focus is on Thursday's show. When we come back, more on what Texas lawmakers are doing this session, including potential changes in education, abortion access, and more. Tower Talks will be right back.
Thirteen of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore, seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Welcome back to Tower Talks. President Donald Trump signed an executive order aimed at dismantling the Department of Education. However, fully dismantling the department would likely take action from Congress, which Republican lawmakers have promised. Some functions of the department, including Pell Grants, student loans, and Title I funding for low-income public schools, will be moved to other areas within the federal government. Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick were both present at the signing of the order in D.C. Now we're going to take a look at the latest with the Texas State Legislature. Reporter McKenna Valentine is here to give us the updates. McKenna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
The Texas Senate passed a bill last week requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed in public school classrooms. Senate Bill 10 was approved on a 2011 party line vote, following a debate between Democrats and Republicans regarding its constitutionality. Republican Senator Phil King argued that displaying the 10 Commandments in schools has been legal for most of U.S. history, leading up to a Supreme Court decision in 1980. King added that a later ruling in 2022 has allowed schools to do this again, making the bill constitutional. Democratic lawmakers argued that the bill undermines religious liberty rather than protecting it. Senator Nathan Johnson added a letter to the record from over 160 religious leaders that urged the Texas Legislature to vote against Senate Bill 10. While the bill was passed in the Senate, it still must gain approval from the Texas House of Representatives before being signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott. The Texas Legislature is seeking to crack down further on the distribution of chemical abortion pills. This includes internet sales, trafficking from another state, and mail orders and prescriptions. Senator Brian Hughes, who authorized Texas's abortion ban in 2021, partnered with Representative Jeff Leach to pass Senate Bill 2880 and House Bill 5510, titled the Woman and Child Protection Act. These bills will allow individuals to file civil suits against chemical abortion pill providers. Any party found guilty of distributing abortion pills under this bill would be held, quote, strictly and jointly liable, end quote. The lawmakers argue that the pills end the life of an unborn child and that abortion pills have severe health effects for the mother. Texas lawmakers are considering a bill that would require sheriffs in larger counties to partner with federal immigration authorities. Senate Bill 8, filed by Republican Senator Charles Schwartner, would mandate that sheriffs in counties with over 100,000 residents sign 287G agreements with ICE, allowing local law enforcement to take on certain federal immigration duties. Supporters argue the bill enhances public safety, while some sheriffs worry about financial strain and diverted resources. Civil rights advocates warn it could lead to racial profiling and erode trust between law enforcement and immigrant communities. Currently, 43 Texas law enforcement agencies have similar agreements, mostly in jails. Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick support the bill as part of their push for stricter immigration enforcement. Last Wednesday, as Longhorns enjoyed their spring break, the Texas Senate passed 20 bills regarding the state energy grid, housing, and other issues. Senators unanimously approved Senate Bill 6, which aims to improve Texas's power grid. This comes after Texas experienced a massive power outage during Winter Storm Uri in 2021. In 2023, state energy demands reached over 85,000 megawatts. Now, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas predicts that state energy demands will grow to 150,000 megawatts by 2030. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 15 aims to improve housing affordability by lowering density restrictions in neighborhoods, letting homeowners build single-family homes on smaller lots. Senate Bills 6 and 15 are both part of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's priority legislation. Tower Talks will be back next Monday at 10 p.m. Be sure to follow us on social media at TSTV News on X, formerly Twitter, and at Tower Talks TSTV on Instagram. Check us out at tstvnews.com online and subscribe to our newsletter, Newsroom Notes. From all of us here in the studio, thank you for joining us this evening, and good night.